The key business partnerships, like in all those examples that I just gave, there was a dichotomy, meaning they, oh my God. Oh my God. You didn't get that on camera, did you? Do you see this? Is it on my hat too? No? We almost called it quits, Cam. We almost called it quits.
Do you want to go somewhere
Motherfucker. No, I can't believe that just happened. Although we probably deserve it. We're here. Oh my God. You're gonna record this? I'm gonna wipe it on you.
No!
Hey, what's going on, guys? Tim Bratz here. I was just talking with somebody and they kept on asking a lot of questions about team building, how to build such an awesome team. I get a lot of compliments about my team. And I thought it was pretty interesting. And it comes up so often that I thought, hey, maybe we'll shoot a video about it. So let's talk about team building and how to build an amazing team and make sure you get the right people in the right seats in your organization. So I've already recorded a video about like who your first hire should be, who your second hire should be, how you should go about doing that, putting their roles, responsibilities, job description into place. So check out the link above, below, this way, that way, and click on that if you want to go out and watch that video. So in this video, I'm going to take it to kind of the next level of kind of entrepreneurship versus intrapreneurship and really the behavioral types of where people should fit in your organization. So first of all, I want to address partnerships, right? I think a lot of people, when they get involved in business, it makes it less scary to get into a partnership. Link arms with somebody else, misery loves company, fear, it makes it less fearful if you're with somebody else on this journey. So a lot of times people try to find a business partner, and that's not the right reason to partner up with somebody in business. You'll notice some of the best business partnerships in history. You take a look at Bill Gates and Paul Allen. You take a look at Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Take a look at John D. Rockefeller and Henry Flagler. You'll notice that all these business partnerships are very strategic, and they didn't grab somebody who, they just were fearful and they wanted to kind of build a business together. They didn't grab somebody who's very much like them, and hey, we get along, we think the same way, we have the right mindset, we like to do the same stuff, so let me become business partners with somebody else who does exactly the same stuff that I do. That's another mistake. The similarity in all those different partnerships is that there was a dichotomy there, meaning they accented each other's strengths, they didn't step on each other's toes, and they complemented each other's weaknesses. So when you take a look at like a Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs was the salesman, Steve Jobs was the face, Steve Jobs was the one who was more of the visionary. Steve Wozniak knew how to create computers, knew how to build computers, knew the technical, the scientific element of how to build computers, right? And so there's always that dichotomy. They worked really well together because they didn't dance on each other's strengths. You see that same thing, right, with Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was the salesman. Andrew Carnegie was the face. Andrew Carnegie could go and raise capital for his business, and he understood the elements of steel and manufacturing, but really, Henry Frick was the one who pushed the limits, right? Who drove the operations of things and pushed everything to the edge. So that's a really important thing to understand whenever you're partnering with somebody or building out your executive team. One of the best ways I've found to understand that there's two different types of behavioral types, and really there's more than that, is by doing a DISC assessment. D-I-S-C, DISC assessment. You can Google it, you can take it online, and I would highly suggest that you do that both for yourself, do it for your business partners, your executive team, for all of your employees, for all new hires, and I would even do it with your at home. Do it with your spouse, do it with your kids, do it with your family, and understand where they fall from a behavioral category. And like there's Myers-Briggs, there's some other ones out there, and some of them are very good. More of the personality ones are about 60% of the time correct. You want more of a behavioral assessment because that's about 80 to 90% of the time correct of how somebody will act in a certain situation. And when you do a DISC assessment, you're gonna see that there's 4 categories. D, I, S, and C. D is a very driving personality, very dominant personality. These people care very much about results, and really that's it. They can almost come off dickish because of it. It's only about 10% of the population falls in the D category by how they behave, but it's over 90% of CEOs fall in the D category because they drive results. They're always results oriented. They're very firm, they're very strong-willed. Think about who comes to mind when you think of D. I think about Donald Trump, right? I also think about Hillary Clinton. I think about CEOs of companies, Jack Welch, right? People who are very high D care about results. They care about driving results in every aspect of their business, and of their life. So it's not just business and finance, but it's all elements of their life. So when you come across somebody with a D personality, typically they're great for driving the business. They're great as more of a COO or a CEO of your company. So that's a great personality to have in more of an executive role, to understand what matters and to be results oriented. Let's move over to I. I is more interpersonal. I is more influential. These are people who are very outgoing, who care and have more, they care more about having fun than they do necessarily about results, but they are very people-oriented individuals. The great people that fall into this is like a George Bush would come into this category. Barack Obama would fall into this category. Very likable people. That could be my buddy. That could be my friend. These are the types of individuals you want in kind of like a sales role, right? People who can build rapport, who can carry on a conversation, who can carry on a dialogue, who can hang out, have a good time, and they like to go and have a good time, right? So these people could potentially work hard. They definitely play very, very hard. Moving on to S. S stands for steadiness, stands for supportiveness. These people are very even-tempered. They don't have too high of highs. They don't have too low of lows. They're very humble. They're very patient. These, I think of S as like nurses are very S. They're very supportive, kind of almost motherly type of personalities. They care more about helping people than results necessarily, or sales, or anything along those lines. I also think of teachers could be great for this type of, would fall into this type of a personality or behavioral type. So S is phenomenal for maybe if you're looking to hire somebody in an organization as an administrative assistant, somebody who's great at keeping things moving along. How can I help? They appreciate praise more than they do a raise monetarily. So something to keep in mind for the S's. Moving on to C. C is very conscientious. These are the people who are very analytical. They're very data driven. They analyze everything before they can ever make a decision. And then even with all the information, it's still hard for them to make a decision typically. They like to be, kind of off to themselves, probably more working spreadsheets or behind a desk or in a computer or in a work cubicle, and they're more, I wouldn't say introverted, but maybe gain energy by being and working solo, right? This is a lot of times like engineers can fall into this type of a category where they're very analytical, their brain's always going, they're super smart. They're very conscientious about making sure that they plan everything out. They like spreadsheets, they like the data, they like taking a look at those kinds of things and putting systems in place, having processes in place, and knowing that if this, then that type of a personality. So people who fall in the C category, where they might fit in on your team is maybe like a project manager role, potentially like your attorney, somewhere where you need all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted, somebody who follows systems, somebody who follows step-by-step procedures would be great if they have a C personality. Typically what you'll find is you fall in one or two of these behavioral types, and typically opposites attract. So where would you think that I fall? I actually fall in social settings. I'm high I. I like to hang out. I like to have a good time. I like to socialize. In business settings, I'm very high D. So I'm right on the line of DI. And I lean heavier in D during business settings and heavier in I during social settings. My COO, Matt Carlin, is a CD. He's very analytical, but he's very results driven and can make a decision. So that's a key person you want, or the behavioral type that you would want in a COO type of a role. Same thing with my attorney, Fadi Bomitri. Heavy D, heavy C. Falls in both of those categories. He can analyze and look at documents and review paperwork, and he can analyze it and make sure everything makes sense, and then at the same time he can make a decision on it. My director of acquisitions, Nick Burton, is a high I, a little bit of a D also. And so Nick, that makes sense. He's out there building relationships, making offers, building rapport with brokers and agents and wholesalers and vendors and all these different people in order to go out and source deals, right? So he's the one out there building rapport and developing these relationships. And a high I is exactly who you would want in that role. My wife, for example, is heavy on SC. She has had 2 careers. One of them was an internal auditor for an accounting firm, heavy C, right? And then she wasn't getting fulfillment from there, so she went back to school to become a nurse, heavy S. If you put her on the phone and asked her to make sales calls, she would start bawling her eyes out because it's just not a comfortable position for her to be in. And again, opposites kind of attract. You want opposites in your business, and typically opposites attract in relationships as well. So just because you fall in one of these different categories doesn't mean that you cannot interact with somebody in one of those categories, or that you're not good at working in one of those other different categories. The thing to understand here is, like, this is where your natural state of strength is, or where you're naturally driven when you're in a good, calm, collected state. See the button? Something else to understand is when you're talking to somebody about maybe they're in your organization, maybe they're somebody you're looking to hire, maybe it's somebody on the other side of the table that you're negotiating a deal with, or a potential client that you're talking with. Try to think about where they would fall in that category and what's important to them. If I'm sitting across the table with somebody who's highly analytical, I'm going to get into the C category a little bit personally, and I'm going to pull out a spreadsheet. I'm going to show them statistics on what's going on and why this is a good investment, or why it's a good deal for us to get into together. If I'm raising money from somebody who's a high I, that makes a bunch of money in some sort of sales role, or they have some business, e-commerce or whatever, they don't really care about the details. They want to see a high level overview of what's going on with that investment or with that opportunity or with that deal. And if it looks good, boom, they're good to go. They'll hand it off to somebody else who will look at the analytical type documents, right? If I'm talking to somebody who's a high D, I'm getting straight to the point. I'm not trying to like build rapport. I'm not trying to go through all these things or provide too many details. Like, here's the facts. Here's why it works. Here's why it wouldn't work. Here's why we need to pursue that deal or not, right? Boom, 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 boom. Bullet points for that person. If I'm talking to somebody who falls more in the S category, then I am going to build rapport. I am going to sit with them. I'm going to ask them about their family. I'm going to ask them about their home life. I'm going to ask them about how they're feeling today, right? And make sure I get on the same side of the table with them to make sure that they have a level of comfortability, because that really is what fulfills them. So it's something to pay attention to in all categories of your life. When you're hanging out with your friends, when you're hanging out with your family, when you're hanging out with your business contacts, when you're hanging out with your team, clients, investors, anybody, this is a great skill set to understand and understand behavioral types. It makes you very emotionally intelligent, creates a lot of self-awareness and social awareness with people that you're working with and interacting with on a daily basis. All right, so here's your homework. I want you to just Google search DISC assessment, DISC-ASSESSMENT, right? I think I spelled it right. DISC assessment, and take the test. It's like 20, 30 questions. You can knock it out in 10, 15 minutes. It'll create so much awareness for you, and I want you to put it in the comments below, what type of behavioral type are you? And then tell me what kind of role you are in currently with your job, with your business, and what seat do you fill? And let's make sure that you're in the right seat. You got the right person in the right seat. A lot of times you can have the right person in your organization, but they're in the wrong seat, so they're not performing. And all you have to do is put them in the right seat, and you got the right person in the right seat, everything changes, magic happens, and now you're firing on all cylinders, and so is your team. So implement this. I want you to do it. Put it in the comments below. I want your team to do it. Give me some of your takeaways from this video, and after you do the DISC assessment, I'd love to hear about how it's helped you and how it's helped your team. And if this is helpful for you, please share it. Send it out to some other folks, other entrepreneurs, business owners who you think would benefit from it. And give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscribe. Anything that I can do to help you guys out, put it in the comments below. If you have further questions about this, put that in the comments below. I'm happy to dialogue and create another video just to help you guys out with anything else that you might be struggling with or might want some additional insights on.